Hey guys, guys here. Guys, we'll put this together to try and provide a bit of understanding because I realise everyone's under time pressure. I know Paul is, and I guess you guys are too. Trying to get stuff done. So I'm not sure how much you know, how much Sammy did, what you're trying to pick up, etc., etc. So I'll just put some stuff down and I'll pause this at places so I can think of other stuff to add to it as we're going through. The first thing I want to highlight is, I guess, well, I hope you understand that you're currently working against a dev environment, and that's what it's meant for. So there's three environments. There's dev, stage, and production. So dev is what we're using to do dev work with. The stage is what is used for essentially for testing. Kirsten does that at the moment. And then production, of course, is what customers have access to. So the production releases of the apps, for example, they only have access to the production environment. The test flight builds that you have been given access to, the only difference between them and production is, or them and release version, is that the test flight versions you can select which of the three environments you want to connect to. So typically, I guess today, 391 was the test flight version, and 392 was the release version, which I had to publish because of my muck up with the changes to the data logger class structure, which I just, that was entirely my fault. So it didn't just impact you in trying to use the simulators or even connect yourselves from the firmware, from the devices. It also impacted the production versions of the app because from my side the client code is all common, whether it's the test tools, the CLI apps, the web portal, the mobile app, etc. It's all using common code, so if it doesn't work for one, it's not going to work for the others. So that's why I had to get that release done. So we're using dev at the moment. I don't know how you're going to do it or how Paul's got the mechanism in place, but my expectation is when you release this for customer use, that you will be talking to production. Okay, so somehow you're going to be switching the URLs that you're using. Everything else from the API usage is the same, it's just a different set of URLs. So as long as we're clear about that when this goes to, when your code, where the loggers go to customer use, or the smart plugs go to customer use, they're talking to production. I don't know how you're doing it, but as long as it's being done somehow. Now another question that was raised, what's the difference, if I can find my mouse, between Poweraudit Simulator and the CLI drop programs? Poweraudit Simulator was the first client-side app that was put together for the development of the APIs, and it does a lot of extra things other than just simulating the operation of the logger. Whereas the CLI drop program, so for example Simulator CLI, or what I'll show later, Plug CLI, they should more closely model what you guys are actually trying to do with your in writing in the firmware. So I'm going to be using Simulator CLI for the purposes of this demonstration. So I'm just going to pause this now so that I can make sure that I'm starting from a factory reset effectively for Simulator CLI for this environment. So just give me a minute. Alright, so just for reference purposes, if you need to do what I've just done effectively, the CLI programs, they store their EEPROM data and database data, if you like, in AppData Local Poweraudit on Windows. And if you're using Linux or a Mac, you just have to find it. I can't remember off the top of my head where it is. But if you, like for in each of those directories, there's a subdirectory which corresponds to the environment. If you remove that directory, you have effectively factory reset the device. So in this case, the simulator. Okay, so effectively, after a factory reset, the device is powered up. The first thing that it has done is it's registered itself. Okay, so it's told the back end, here I am. It's given it details about its description, firmware versions, the type, etc. All this, you know this stuff by now. It has then generated or requested an access token to be generated by logging in. And again, you would know how to do this by now. It's then confirmed the registration. Now, the whole point of the confirm registration API call to the back end is to tell the back end that, hey, I have done what I need to do. I have received the encryption data. I have stored it in the EEPROM. I'm ready to go. I now exist. And that should never have to be done again. So as far as the back end's concerned, and as far as the device is concerned, they now exist. They're in sync, they know about each other, and all is sweet with the world. So if you factory reset it, in essence, you are creating a new device. And you get to assign a new ID, new keys, etc., etc., etc. So once that confirm registration is done, it returns you the real life access token and refresh token, and you can go with that. Another, just while I think of it too, the other token that you'd probably want to store in EEPROM is the refresh token, because once you've logged in and you have that refresh token, you should never have to log in again. You can just use that refresh token to regenerate your access token as required within, I think from memory, it's 30 days that the device, that the refresh token is valid for. I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So the refresh token is a sensitive piece of information, because if that was to be leaked, then then you gain access to the APIs, because you can request a new token. So the refresh token should also be stored in EEPROM if you're going to do it that way. Otherwise, you've got to log in all the time. That's just going to generate a lot of extra back-end work that's not, strictly speaking, necessary. So from my side, like the clients, the mobile app, the web app, etc., once someone has logged in and I've received a refresh token, on every API call that I make, I check to see whether the access token is about to expire. If it is going to expire, then I request a new token using the refresh token, and then before making the API call. I don't know how you guys are doing it, but that's the model that it's built around. So you use the access token while it's valid, and as soon as it's approaching the point where it's going to become invalid, generate a new token using the refresh token. That's the whole point of how this is supposed to work. And I'm sure you can have the ability to decode a bearer token to know when it's going to expire, so on and so forth. And the other thing, remembering that everything, when you're talking to the back end, everything is in UTC. Okay, I don't care what the local time zone is. The back end only knows about UTC. All right. Now, the next thing that I'll just run this again. Okay, so what it's doing now, so it's registered itself, it's confirmed. Now, it is going to just poll the back end until it gets a configuration. Because until it gets a configuration, it can't do any more. the whole point of a configuration is establishing the source of truth between the mapping of the inputs on the logger. So what inputs have current clamps connected to them, what inputs have smart loggers directly connected, and so forth. That's all defined as part of the configuration. Now you can generate the configuration yourself, or you can use the app to do it, or eventually you could be able to use the web portal to do it. At the moment it was originally done from the app, and I just haven't had time to transfer it to the web portal yet. One thing that you have probably noticed that if you use Poweraudit simulator program, it generates a configuration, which is why it immediately is able to start uploading. Whereas this version, Simulator CLI, more closely maps what I expect you guys are doing. So it's waiting until it receives a configuration before it can actually do anything. So let's go to the app, all right, and let's see whether this is going to work here. So we're connected to the dev environment, all right. Right, that's the one, that's this one here, was just created before. So what we're going to do now, so it's a registered logger, okay. There are a current set of predefined configurations that an installer could use. So now you're switching hats basically. The installer has taken one of these devices, he's gone on site, he's installed it, he's plugged it in, turned it on, etc., etc. It has connected to the back end, registered itself, confirmed that registration, and now it's waiting to receive its configuration. So the installer is now going to tell the system what the configuration is. So for argument's sake, we'll use a residential two-phase, all right? What we're seeing here is that mapping. Now the important thing that I want to highlight is the phase needs to be defined. Now either the installer does it, or you guys do it when you upload readings. Doesn't make much difference to me, but somewhere along the line, the phases have to be set. That's absolutely that's inviolate. Okay, so what have we got here? So we've just got different things, the inputs, what they are, and an installer can go through and add and delete and change, etc. I'm not going through all that here because that's really not the purpose of this exercise. So you've told it these inputs are being used, that's what they are, that's the type, whether they're well, supply circuits or consumer circuits effectively, and what phase they're on. Okay, so that's the base level mapping. Now the logical mapping, we can go in here and it will generate a default circuit configuration from that input mapping. All right, so if we look at this grid connect, like phase 1 has had these circuits assigned to it, and again you can devise an arbitrarily complex circuit layout, and this is something that the end user can also redo, if you like. They can change their circuit mapping, and the circuit mapping is used for the production of reports effectively. So you've told it what the type of the circuit is, what inputs are in that circuit, etc. Again, I'm not going to go through all of this, that's been done before, and if you really want to know, you can look up the documentation and other clips that have been done. So let's assign that. All right, so what's going to happen now? It's going to go through. Done its stuff on the back end, created a configuration. You'll notice that that has disappeared from here. And you'll also notice that things have changed here. All right, so the logger was polling the back end. I have that on a 15-second interval, waiting to see for a configuration to be defined. Once the configuration is defined, it loads it, and now it can start uploading data. And that's basically what it's doing here. So if we look on here, if we go refresh, what do we got? Right, it's uploading data. Beautiful. Right, it tells you when, etc. And this is where you could go through and assign a new configuration, or as I will set up in a minute, or show you in a minute, you can now assign that logger to a customer. So if they log in, then they can start seeing their data. So I'm just going to pause this for a minute and get myself organized. Okay, I'll do this using the portal. You can add a customer from the app, but as this functionality is all being moved to the portal, yeah, I'll use that. And of course, you guys have access to the portal. There's no reason you can't use it either. So again, selecting your environment. All right, we're on the dev environment. Yeah, and we want to go to admin. All right, we want to add a customer. Now you need, like, if you're going to log in with this, it needs to be an email that you have access to. So the ones that I created for you yesterday are like sub emails from the email, your account emails. All right? So this is an example of an email that I've set up. All right, so customer 3, test customer 3. Yeah, helps if you put the domain in, doesn't it? Right, so theoretically that should go and create a customer. Just as an aside, if you do use the portal, it's a Blazor WASM app, and it does some strange things that I haven't worked out yet. That if you leave it idle for a while, some of the functionality, like the JavaScript that's been translated, gets garbage collected, and then the stuff just doesn't work. So you might click a button and nothing happens. Anyway, get around it. You just have to refresh it. Pain in the neck, but that's how it is at the moment. So theoretically, that has now created that customer. All right, so I'm going to go back to the app now, because I haven't transferred this functionality to the portal yet. But anyway, I just wanted you to see the portal, and we're going to use it for some other stuff later. All right, we're back in the app. So this one here. Now, if we do this, let's see if this is going to work. Oops, let's search for a person. The keyboard, where we got? Test customer 3, all right, so that's the one that was just created. And these are the ones I was talking about that I created for you guys, right? So it's just a subdomain of your account emails. So if we take this customer, and what we're doing now is we're going to allocate this logger to this customer. All right. So what that should theoretically mean, and I'll show you this in a sec, is that if that customer was to log in using the app, then they should start seeing the data being displayed. It also means theoretically in the portal, if we go to support and here, test customer 3, right? There's the logger. don't know why I haven't got a configuration. That seems strange. Config ID there, okay, so bug. Probably because this is gone. This is what I was talking about. It's gone to sleep and functionality's disappeared on me. Ugh, drives you nuts. Who would want to write software? Right. Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. Is if stuff suddenly seems not to work, it's because JavaScript has been garbage collected by the runtime and functionality's gone away, and I haven't got to the bottom of that. All right, so that's the logger. That's the configuration that was created, right, as we saw before. And theoretically, if we go into here now, there's the readings being uploaded from the simulator. Okay, so 7:10:09, which is pretty much what the time is now. Right, and if we look at it in detail, so there's all of your inputs, the values, etc. Now these are simulated values, all right, so they wouldn't get too carried away with this sort of stuff. It's just randomly generated, but anyway, that's what I'm expecting to receive from you guys from the logger. So just to finish this off, I will go back to the app and show you what a customer login looks like. Remembering that the first time you log in, you've got to set the password, etc., validate the email, so on and so forth. So I won't record that. You should know about that by now. But what I will show you is how to get out of this. All right. So that button there gives you details, etc., etc., and log out. All right. So I have logged in as that customer, right? And this is what you'll see in the app. Okay, so it's the simulator, or in your case, the real hardware, is uploading data, and that's being rebroadcast and made available to the customer in the app, and being recorded in the back end, etc., etc., for the use for creating reports, etc. So the data there coming through in real time, or close to real time. Okay, this one didn't have any smart plugs defined. All right, and we get nice little fancy graphs too. So yeah, obviously it's just started. So there's maybe if we look at a minute, there you go, minute data. So you can see how the different circuits are tracking over time, and you can select or deselect circuits, etc. So if we hold air contour, right, for argument's sake, so on. So that is a very brief rundown of what the app allows at the moment, what the app allows the customer to do. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head for this side of things, but that should give you a fair bit to process and deal with for at least getting readings uploaded. And I'll do a separate clip that relates to the recent work for smart plugs and how that is all supposed to work. Thanks.